Aloha, I'm Yanji Denise. Welcome to Get Your House in Order, the show where we help you take care of the things that matter most. In this series, we cover a wide range of topics from health and wellness to financial readiness and preparing for every phase of life. Today, we are talking about something that affects each and every one of us, mental wellness. Life coach Alice Inouye is our guest today. But first, I'm joined as always by Paulette Ito of Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union. And Paulette, mental wellness, it really goes to something deeper that we've been talking about in this series, and that is this idea of thriving. Why is that important to the financial credit union?
Because when our members thrive, we thrive. We see that there is a connection between the wellness of a member and the wellness of their financial self as well as the credit union. So there is a connection.
Okay, and tell us about this whole idea of get your house in order. How do we do that?
Yes, well, getting our house in order is tough, and I think the toughest thing is getting started. Getting your house in order is being well organized, being prepared, documenting your paperwork so that when you need it, you have it. So we created a guidebook to help people through that.
Okay, tell us about the guidebook. It's a series.
Yes. The guidebook, we call it the Ho'okele. You can find it at our website, hificu.com. It's free. Everyone can download it. You don't have to be an account holder to get the guidebook. We've divided it up into 4 series. One for the past, then the present, future, and miscellaneous. We wanted to give you information in chunks because sometimes getting organized is too overwhelming for people to get started. So what we did was we chunked it so that you'll have it in a series.
And why would completing the guidebook help with your mental well-being?
Because we find that when you're well organized, you feel safer, you feel prepared, and you can be able to tackle things. Sometimes when we get stressed out, when there's an unknown, people get stressed out, or when you're unable to do what you need to do, you may get a little rattled. By being prepared, you'll be able to sleep better at night. You'll be able to handle things that get thrown at you. It's your whole being that we're looking after.
I love that idea, taking care of the whole person, because when you think about a financial institution providing tips, they tend to be just how to balance your checkbook. This goes a lot further.
Oh yeah, this is deeper. I always call it the 600 level course of getting your house in order, financial literacy.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Paulette. Coming up, we're going to hear from Alice Inouye, but first, let's take a look and hear from someone whose story shows us why caring for your mental well-being is so important.
Aloha, my name is Larry and I'm from Makiki, and this is my story. My husband and I had planned our 50th anniversary party, but he died suddenly of a heart attack 2 weeks before the party. So it was totally a shock to everyone, but luckily I had family and friends who supported me, and we turned that party into a celebration of his life. I've been moving on because I believe in spending my money on experiences instead of things. So I decided to move from my big Pearl City house to a condo in town and downsized all my stuff, gave everything away, and I try not to add to my little condo now. But anyway, I have 5 grandchildren and I just love them to pieces. And I take them on trips. I take my son and his family on trips. I take my daughter and her family to Japan and so forth. And each grandchild gets a special trip with grandma. So my oldest grandson went to Japan with me, and then the second one went to Norway, and another one wants to go to Italy, and another one wants to go to Australia. So I create happy memories with my grandchildren. And I'm in good financial shape. I don't have to worry about money. My husband and I had a trust, and we just planned everything. And my whole family knows what I want for my funeral and scatter my ashes, you know. So anyway, life is good. And I suggest that everyone move on if you have any tragedy in your life. And now I'm very happy because I have a boyfriend that we met on Match.com, and we love each other, and we both love traveling. So this is amazing. My life is wonderful.
For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit hificu.com.
Welcome back. I'm joined now by Alice Inouye, award-winning author, life coach, and founder of Happiness U. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So tell us, what is Happiness U?
Happiness U is an educational establishment, and what we do is we basically help people find answers to their life's challenges. And we do it through presentations, through classes, through video, through any means, books, anything to help people in life.
I think there's such a renewed focus on mental wellness. Tell us about why you think mental health is so important to take care of that aspect of our lives.
Well, I think if we don't feel good, it's hard to enjoy life. And if you only have one life to live and you don't feel good through all of life, then you really don't have a good understanding of what life is, and that is to be lived. And I think mental wellness is important simply because who doesn't want to feel better, right?
Yeah. And how do you know where you are on that scale in terms of, am I in a good place mentally? Because so many of us are moving just so fast through life, trying to get through the day, get our kids to school, take care of our finances and all of those things that sometimes you just don't really check in with yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it, right? We don't check in with ourselves, so we ignore things like when our neck hurts or when we have a certain thought, or we do things because we should do it versus what we really want to do. So I think we've lost touch with ourselves over time, so we're not really in tune with what we need, because so much of our life is about giving. We're always taught that we need to give, we need to expand ourselves to help others, but we sometimes forget about ourselves.
Yeah, and so how do we know where we are in terms of our mental well-being?
I'm going to go back to it's how do you feel? Like if you feel like when you wake up in the morning, you say, what do I have on my plate of life today? That's good, right? But if you wake up and you're like, oh my God, another day, how can I just get through the day? I think then you know you're kind of on the scale of needing a little bit of self-support. I think we're so used to supporting others, and I get it. Life has changed so much. Circumstances and situations sort of have pressured us to become and live our lives in a certain way, and I think, how do you know if you are where you are on that scale? I think it's just really, how do you feel? I don't think any human being wakes up and says, I want to do less, I want to be depressed, I want to have a negative day. I think intrinsically we want to thrive in our life. So if you don't feel like you're thriving and you're just surviving, then yeah, let's look at mental health. Like, how are you treating yourself? How are you structuring your day?
And if you're facing that and you know that you have deficiencies in that area, how do you get to that self-support?
I think there's obviously there's lots of organizations around, but mostly it's to make that time to ask yourself, what is it that you don't have in life, versus moaning and complaining about not having these certain things. I think most of the time when I talk to people, it's so much about how things are not going well. Everything is overriding them, or they're overwhelmed in so many ways. So I think how do you do it is just to ask yourself, well, what do I need? Do I need more time? Do I need more space? And putting yourself first, it's very difficult to do that.
Yeah, this whole idea of putting yourself first is a really, really tough one. When you wake up in the morning, I'm just interested to, in your day, when you wake up, do you always wake up with that attitude of, yes, I want to seize that day, and how do you make that happen for yourself?
I think it's a little different. I think people think that if you're in the business of positivity or happiness, that you're just like, oh my God, life is so amazing. I think it's really more balanced, and that's how I look at it. I have a lot of challenges, but I also know that I have a lot of support. And so I think it's the balance that makes it good. So when I wake up in the morning, it's not like, oh yay, another day, I can't wait to work 5,000 hours and help all these people. It's a little bit more like, oh good, I have a lot to do. Did I rest properly? What do I need? So I make sure I eat my proper nutrition, right? It's just, how do I say it? It's not like everybody wakes up with this joyful exuberance about life. I think it's waking up and feeling good about life and recognizing that life has two sides to it.
Right. And what are some simple steps that you can take to sort of restore that self-support?
That's a really good question. I think one of the first steps is to just ask yourself, what do you want that's reasonable? People say, oh, I want $1 million. I want to have no responsibility. But how can we start small? Because everything starts with a single step. So what if it is just getting up and doing something for yourself? I mean, just flipping that. How many of us reach and see who's contacting? How many people pick up their phone first thing in the morning, or turn on their computer, turn on their television? But what if it's just, what do I want to do? Like, ask yourself different questions.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those ones who picks up the phone first thing. We're going to continue with Alice in just a moment. How do we get to where we need to be? We know what our deficiencies are, so what's the next step? We're going to explore that after the break.
Mental wellness. It's hard to enjoy life when you don't have an optimistic outlook. So mental wellness is central to feeling good, taking care of your loved ones, and living life to the fullest. Everyone wants not only to survive, but also to thrive. Put yourself first. Taking care of yourself and doing the right things like eating right, getting enough sleep, and being mindful of your emotional state are all steps that allow you to reach your full potential for each day.
Long's Drugs is always here for Hawaii, providing your family with their local favorites, accessible health and wellness services to keep you safe and healthy. Make Long's a part of your day. Beachside Roofing, the leaders.
Welcome back to Get Your House in Order, where today we are speaking with Alice Inouye about mental wellness. Now, you talked earlier about how important it is to know yourself and know what your specific goals are. So how do you really get to know yourself, and why do you think that is the key to success and happiness?
I think when we're born, we intrinsically know what makes us happy, right? As children, we go out and do what we want, and it's the adults in our life. No, don't talk now, be quiet, do this, don't do that. So we start to listen to outside influences, and we start what I call like moving away from ourselves. And so we start centering on everyone else and everything versus centering on self. And so that's why it starts. And so the process is, again, I don't know how to articulate other than we all know what we need. I can't tell you what you need, but you know what you need. And if we're out of touch and you've never asked that question, just asking that question starts to be a form of self-care, right? Because I'm always like, how are you? How are you? What do you need? We're always asking others, but we rarely ask ourselves.
So what's the process to getting started? Do you recommend journaling? Like, how do you actually start that process?
I know what you're asking, yeah, and it is hard. And maybe journaling is good. When's the last time you did nothing? Like, think about it. You go to the beach, you're like, I'm doing nothing, but you're sleeping, or you're reading a book, or you're looking at the phone. We're always engaged in something. And the answers are not out there. The answers are within you, and we all have them, but we need space. And so I think the way to start, space, journaling, absolutely. What do I need? What do I want? You can start by getting all your toxicity out, what you're not happy with, what you're resentful for, everything in your life that you're not happy with. Then, what do I want? How can I fill myself? Do I want more time? And you could say, no, the people around me don't let me. I have kids, I have aging parents, I have all this. And the thing is, what's interesting is I always ask the question, what happens if you just poof, you just disappeared? Everyone would figure out how to move forward on their lives. So sometimes we give our energy out without realizing that there needs to be replenishment of it. So I think starting by just give yourself 30 seconds to sit there and do nothing. And your mind is going to race, but after a while, you will start to get the answers. They're all inside you. They're all inside you, but we've lost so much touch with ourselves because we've been focused on everyone else.
Yeah, and focus so much on the external. That's really interesting that you say that we don't have stillness. I find in my own life, if I have those 30 seconds or that half an hour, let's say, oh, I should be cleaning, I should be doing this. Let me see what's happening on Instagram. Do I have email that I need to deal with? What do I need to get at Costco this week? I mean, the list goes on, and finding that stillness, it's pretty tough.
It's nonstop, and I think you have to, and remember how earlier I said it's about balance. We need that balance. It's not like happy, happy. It's like happy and challenge, but there's balance, the same thing. We always look at what more we have to do, what we didn't do. So at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, I wanted to do 30 things. I only got 10 things done. I didn't do all these things. But what if you focus on what you did do? We're so focused on what we didn't do, what we don't have, what is not enough, but change that and say, where do you have enough? What do I have? So start from a place of abundance versus lack. If you start from a place of abundance, like, what do I have? What am I? I'm going to bring this up. What am I grateful for? And I know it sounds so, everyone's like, grateful, grateful. I'm grateful for my health, but you have to say, I'm grateful for specific. What specifically are you grateful for? What specifically in your life is serving you? What specifically do you have? Because we focus so much on lack, what we didn't do, what we have to do. That's my number one. Do I have time for another one?
Of course.
No more shoulds. Anytime you say, I should clean the house, I should call my mom. Anytime you say should, you actually don't want to do it. you're living by an outside standard, like somebody else thinks you should. Somebody who said you need a clean house? Like, is it your mom? Is it TV? Is it good housekeeping? Like, you are shoulding yourself. Like I will say, don't should all over yourself, because you should yourself all day long, and you're not even doing what you really want to do, right? So when you say should, you're doing what you don't want to do,
Yeah.
or you're beating yourself up for not doing what you think you should be doing, and yet you're doing what you're actually wanting to do because of what you value.
I'm interested in your own life. Do you have a to-do list?
I do, and it's everlasting so long. It's ridiculous how many things I have to do, but I recognize that I can only do so much. And I know that if I am the source of my life, I'm the source of energy for my life. If I don't replenish my energy, how can I go out and help people if I can't even take care of myself? So I recognize it's hard, but we have to set boundaries around our own time. And we have to say no to things that are lower on our priority, instead of saying, we should go because it's so-and-so's birthday and I should get them a present, so I should go to ohana. It's tough, right? To live by a set of standards that aren't your own. So we've gotten away from who we are.
Oh, it's so true. All right, we're going to have to take a short break right now. We'll have more with Alice in a moment, including how mental fitness ties into financial fitness. Stay with us.
Finding stillness. With all the challenges of the modern, often hectic world, emotional stillness and calm can be very difficult to come by. Understand your priorities by having appropriate limits to everything. At the end of each day, focus on what you're grateful for and what you've accomplished, not only on the things you didn't get done. Mental and financial fitness. A financial transaction can be thought of as an exchange of energy. Therefore, energy has value. When we expend our money or energy for a valuable service, we feel there's a balance to the exchange. We feel inherently cheated if we keep paying someone for money or energy, and yet we receive nothing in return. Knowing where to draw your boundaries is crucial to both your mental and financial well-being. How you decide to spend your money each day will determine your financial fitness.
Impact Wealth Solutions. Dream, plan, live.
We are speaking today with Alice Inouye about mental wellness. And so, Alice, tell us about how mental fitness ties into financial fitness.
So I think that we forget that money is a form of energy, and it's used to exchange goods, right? So if I sell you something, if I give you something, you give me money for it. So our energy and money are tied together. So we're going to bring it back to why you have me on today, is talking about mental fitness and mental wellness. If you recognize that your energy is valuable, then you're going to be less likely to give away your time and energy for nothing. And if your energy, if you value it, you'll be able to charge for it, so to speak. And so I see it as together. And those of us who are maybe working as entrepreneurs, or those that are employees, or even if you're older and you're saving, it's the same thing. If you know how to guard your own personal energy, you'll be much better, much more able to guard your financial energy.
So important. Now, you talked about this idea of this lists of shoulds, right? Now, how do I make sure that taking care of my mental wellness doesn't become part of that should list? Oh, I know I should be, meditating, or I should be journaling, or I should be taking time for myself. How do we not make that part of the list?
Because you don't see the value in it. So you have to stack up the benefits. How would you feel if you did journal, if you did take time for yourself, if you did wake up and do what you needed for yourself, if you did take time, if you ask yourself, how would you value, who would value, both general values, specific values, if you recognize the value of it, you would wake up and do it. Everybody lives by a set of values. You wake up and do what you think is most important. If it's not you personally, but you might be like, oh, how many fans do I have on my social media? To whatever it is that's important to you, it's a high value. If your mental wellness is low on your priority, you'll keep shooting yourself, and you'll keep doing the things that you think are high priority. So in order to move this higher on that list, you have to think of all the advantages. What would I gain? What would I get? How would I be better? How would my life be better? How would I be less grumpy to others? So we have to raise the value, and you raise the value by identifying the benefits of that. And you have to look for the benefits. The more benefits, we do nothing without benefit. As humans, we do what we think is the most valuable thing by default. But if you consciously say, I want to feel better, then we have to look for ways that it would benefit. Otherwise, why do it?
And I like this idea of having to deeply engage with things. You know, we were talking before about how we are multitaskers these days and we do a little bit of everything, but probably nothing really good. Why is that detrimental?
So multitasking comes from computers in the 80s because computers can do everything at once. That wasn't a human thing. That word did not exist before the 80s. All of a sudden it was like, oh, multitasking, it's so good. So we start to think we can save time by doing more at once. So studies already show that you're 25% less effective when you do multitasking. But beyond that, the reason why you don't want to multitask is because you train your brain to be inefficient. And then when you want to dive deep, you can't. You're just getting all scattered and you get distracted. So that's why all of the stuff that you're doing, that we're talking about, is so important. So you're training yourself to be inefficient when you multitask.
Wow, okay. So stay focused on one thing. When it comes to our mental wellness, just a final thought, what is your best tip for our audience today if they want to start down this path of really taking care of their mental fitness?
I think the first thing would be to find the benefits of doing so. How would that benefit you? How would it benefit the people in your life? How would it benefit your health? And if you kept doing what you're doing, where will you be in 5 years or in 10 years? Imagine your energy is draining out. Your cell phone doesn't work if there's not enough batteries in it. But as human beings, somehow we think that we can just keep going beyond our limits, and we pay for it in poor health, we pay for it in poor finances, we pay for it. So you want to ask yourself, what are the benefits that you will receive and others too? I think that's the place to start.
Oh, I'm so inspired. Okay, thank you so much. Mahalo to Alice for being here today. Remember, you can always review this show or watch it again by finding us on YouTube or listen as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Yenji Denise. Until next time, take care and aloha.